Hi Priyesh, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for joining me in this testimonial video where we would
So,
like you to talk about your experience, of course, working with Rajiv and LilacBuds overall in your application process for MBA programs. So, as I start all videos, I would like you to introduce yourself a little bit so that people who are going to listen to this would know what your background and profile was.
sure. I'm Ankit Azad. I belong from Kolkata. I've like spent my childhood there. Post that, I did my engineering from KIT University, Bhubaneswar. From 2015 to 2019. Post that, I started my career working for a software development firm. I used to do product development for ERP softwares, and I specifically focused on the food and beverages sector in North America. So that was the first year and a half of my career. Then obviously COVID hit, a lot of things were transitioning. So even I thought of transitioning in my career. That's how I moved into consulting then. I have been working with ZS Associates. We do healthcare consulting. So that I have been doing for more than 4 years now. I am an associate consultant there right now. So that's a brief background of how my work experience looks like. Apart from that, I've been like always someone who likes to take initiative, and I'm always interested in things outside of professional or academic work as well. So even during my undergrad, I was an integral part of organizing various cultural and techno fests as well, trying to help the college as well as students having a great time. So that's something which I really enjoy. Same translated into my career as well. I've been trying to like take part in multiple initiatives, not just in terms of the project work which I do. So that's me. Apart from that, I think in personal front, I would say I like to travel a lot. However, COVID did bring a gap onto that for 2 years. And post that, I've been trying to keep up with it
What
along
got
with
you what
my
got
job.
you
So.
thinking that I want to get an MBA? That's what I think everybody should know as well.
Yeah, so I think it started. It's slightly random how it started. I never had it in my mind post my engineering degree that I wanted to do an MBA or maybe move to some kind of a management role. However, when I was working at my first company developing softwares, I also had the exposure to manage a few clients, which is something which happens with a lot of product developers, so as to say. So that really intrigued me and pushed me towards understanding how businesses work and pushing me towards how client management work and not just doing things at the back end. So that's what intrigued me into moving towards consulting. And at the same time, I also started like, looking at whether I want to do an MBA, whether MBA would help me achieve what I'm thinking right now in terms of solving business problem or being being in a client facing role or so. So that happened. Initially, I was looking at it in India itself. I was focusing on my CAD preparations and all of that, but it did turn out a little bit. I had a few IM calls as well, I think in 2021. But at that point of time, I didn't went ahead with it. I wanted to just give it some more time in my career, so as I also understand how corporate and everything works. And post that, then I think starting 22 or 20, end of 22, I again starting focusing on my like MBA journey, and then I had focused more towards going for abroad or at ISB. So that's how like my journey initiated in terms of why I want
So
to
how
do an
did you go
MBA.
about like figuring out that you needed a consultant, right? Like what made you work with a consultant in the first place? And of course, why did you choose Lilac Buds in that journey?
Sure. So, I think firstly, when I was looking for doing an MBA abroad, I was trying to figure out on how the ecosystem works, how students from India apply to B schools at US or Europe. And then I realized that a lot of people take help from consultant. So that was something which I didn't know beforehand, like before going into this journey. That was because I didn't had a lot of friends who were doing MBA from where I can get this information. So then I started looking at it, exploring various ways on what kind of consultant should I want to go with, or how do they exactly help. And I remember I had applied for the 2024 fall intake as well, back in 2023, round one and round two. At that time, I had worked with a different consultant, but again, my mindset at that point of time was to go something which doesn't cost me a lot of money. Like that was my initial perspective, because I had a belief that I don't know how much of a help a consultant would be. Given it's my own story, they can just give me a little bit of background on how I can write that. That
Okay.
can be done through ChatGPT as well. So I don't know, that was my perspective initially.
Okay.
So that happened. I obviously didn't get through any of the B schools, and then I also like talked to a lot of people who were already part of the B schools which had applied back then, last year.
Okay.
Then I understood that okay, a lot of people who have got admit also had consultants, and they had given a lot of thought into which consultant they want to go ahead with and why they want to go ahead with. So that's when I came into it, and I had explored few options. One of them obviously was LilacBuds. I remember very starkly, I would say that I had my first call with Rajiv. At that point of time, we had a discussion on what had happened earlier in terms of what I had done in the past year, going ahead with a different consultant that didn't turn out very well. And my goal, I had mentioned last time around that I wanted to go into consulting, like McKinsey, Bain, BCG.
Okay.
That's when I kind of got a little bit of scolding at the very first call itself. He gave me basically a reality check on why I should be very clear on what I want to do. It's not a like a magic wand that MBA would get me whatever I want, irrespective of whether where I do it. So I
Correct.
have to be very clear with my goal. I have to sync it with how I want to do it, how my like previous experiences also align with what I want to do in future, because that's a very important aspect when doing an MBA. A lot of people might think that doing an MBA might just turn out a magic wand, and I right now I'm doing software development and I might move into consulting all of a sudden. It can happen, but not for everyone.
Correct.
So that's what he made me understand in the very first call itself, and that's when I realized that okay, he like Rajiv is real with me. At least he's not sugarcoating it. That okay, it'll happen. We'll help you out and everything. He was very real at the first, and then I had a couple of more sessions or discussion with him. Then I realized that Lilac Birds would definitely be a good option for me, because as a mentor, Rajiv was very direct, and I really liked his up to the mark approach and how he explained on the process as well. That also helped me understand more on how taking a help from consultant would allow me to put my story better.
Nice. Okay, cool. Thank you for that. And then when you started the process, right? Like you from the shortlist to your essays to your interview prep,
Hmm.
like walk me
Hmm.
through the elements now that you already picked a consultant, you've realized from your past, applications and not being able to successfully get an admit earlier on. What made you realize in that journey that yes, having a consultant helped me in these ways, right? Like these were the aspects that I was not doing right. These were the aspects where I need to really be upping my game by talking to somebody and getting a new perspective on the way I'm thinking about my essays. Or one was already, as you mentioned, about the goals, but while you were
Hmm.
writing, the essays are so intricate. They're about various things that you experience every time in your workplace or about diversity. How did you handle that response?
So, I think once I decided to go ahead with Lilac Words, the first concern which I had about my profile itself was I didn't feel personally that I had a very good score, so as to say, in terms of like GMAT. So even last time around, I still had a feeling that maybe my GMAT score was not enough. That's why I didn't get through to any of the B schools which I had applied. This time around, I had a very upfront discussion with Rajiv itself that okay, this is my score, these are my goals, and this is how I want to like this. These are the B schools which I'm targeting. Again, I can be completely wrong. Maybe it's too above board or something like that. So I'll definitely like try to have a conversation with you and understand your perspective on which kind of schools I should try. So then I think we had a discussion in terms of like why I had a very good experience in technology itself. Like I was somewhere in between technology and consulting. I had amalgamation of both of them. So that's where we tried to started to shortlist schools who had a very good tech background and who can give good enough opportunity in terms of consulting as well as tech as well. So that's how it started. I think we had a couple of discussions related to score as well on how that thing works, because my perspective was that if I don't have a good enough score, given I come from I would say overrepresented pool, being an Indian male engineer, so I might require 20, 30, 40 points more than what maybe the average would say on the website of a specific B school. So that's when Rajiv also helped me understand that it's not just about score. Obviously, it's important. No one is denying that. But there are other aspects as well which we can focus on along with trying to improve the score. So I think based on that, I had few initial questionnaire which was shared by Rajiv to me, and I tried to answer that in terms of what all big achievements I had in my career, few introspective questions, I would say. And within that, I had spent, I guess, a week or so, and I was slightly afraid at that point of time. I don't know if I'm taking a week to write these introspective questions. How am I going to write a 400, 500 word essay in time? I had time, but I still was a little afraid. But again, once went through that process in terms of like introspecting and getting a lot of the highlights of my career, or in terms of stories which I actually wanted to portray in whatever way in the future applications, that's when I realized that okay, this is what is different from last time around. Last time around, I did had like an awareness, okay, I need to put my personal stories into it, and I need to correlate it with my goal or whatever I'm trying to say, but there's a certain way to it. It can't be very generic in terms of okay, I maybe did a project on a certain aspect, I have done a go to market project, and then I think I should be someone who's helping businesses doing go to market. It's not as simple as that. So that's where Rajiv also pitched in. We had a lot of review sessions in terms of like the different school essays which we had written. Post that, I think, given I had started a little early, I believe I had started with LilacBuds in June, and we had our deadline in September, October for round one. I had ample time to like go through multiple revisions and ensure that everything is in place in terms of like recommendation, essays, resume, even the smaller questions which we get in applications, everything. So Rajiv was there to help in even a very small question, that what is a career goal, just in 10 words. I was ready to ask that as well because I didn't wanted to take a chance this time around.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that was the overall journey in terms of like application, and then in interview prep as well. I remember it was, I would say, a slightly challenging time for me during the interview prep because I had a lot of things going on in my like professional life. In terms of like work, it was I was working on something really important.
Okay.
I was swamped up from day to night, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., given that's how consulting works. So I had a lot of conversation with Rajiv at that point of time as well, because he understood that okay, I'm busy, but at the same time I have a certain date in terms of like interview, that this is when the interview is going to happen, so I have to prepare. So that was slightly challenging, but again, I think the team was there. I had a couple of mock interviews. He helped me understand on where my answer might be looking a bit generic or where it seems to be fine. I think interviews went smoothly. I would say it was a good experience. I didn't know that it could go that well. I had received interview from, I think, almost all of them except for one B school, couple of B schools, I would say.
So yeah, so
So
have the big reveal. I want to know, you left so much to guess out here. What was the GMAT score that you were worried about? That's number one.
yeah.
And two is like, of course,
So
which schools you applied to and where did you
right.
finally get these interview calls and the eventual admit?
Mhm. Sure. So I had a GMAT score of 655 in GMAT Focus Edition. It's close to 700 or 710 in the actual like old GMAT Focus edition. Post that, I had applied to Foster, I had applied to Keenan Flagler, I had applied to Scheller and ISB, and I also had applied to McCombs. So, like McCombs and Foster were a couple of schools which I was really looking forward to. Like these were my preferences. And then I had like Ken Flagler, Scheller, and I also wanted to just take a chance in terms of if I still want to continue in India, then ISB seems like my best option. So I had received interview invites from Foster, from Ken and Flagler. McCombs has a slightly different way. They
The
have like
interview is
it's
not
not an
there, so
interview
it's part
invite
of the
specifically,
process,
but yeah,
application
yeah.
itself. Yes, that's right.
Yes, yes, yes. So that was there, and I think Scheller and ISB I didn't had received any interview invites.
Okay.
So this was like the breakdown, and then I got waitlisted at Kinnan Flagler. I got admitted into Foster, and for McCombs again, I had got waitlisted. Yes, I got waitlisted at McCombs as well.
Okay. So you still have the
So
one
this was the
two decision
breakdown.
pending from Makums that you hope to hear back on yet.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Cool. But I mean, now that you've made up your mind, I'm guessing you made up your mind that you're heading to Foster right now. Great
Right.
school, of course, as you mentioned, product management or even product consulting and what you've mentioned with go-to-market and stuff, the kind of career outcomes. And you looked at a lot of the employment records and the networking elements that must have also been part of your decision making for finalizing
Right.
schools. Let's say today, I mean, of course, having been through the whole journey, there are applicants who are now going to start this process this year for the 2026 intake. What would your kind of advice be for somebody who's now starting off? What are the two, three things that they could do better based on what you learned about yourself or about the whole experience of applying to a B school?
Sure. So I think first thing which I would mention is don't ponder a lot about your GMAT score. I'm not saying it's not important, but once you have a decent enough score as well, like something close to 700 or beyond that, irrespective of what your B school might ask for, you can start at least exploring like consultants and start progressing towards your application as well, because there could be changes. Of course, like what happened with me was I was always trying to better my GMAT score, and hence I was always trying to delay on when I want to connect with my consultant in my previous experience before LilacBuds. So I had initially planned for round one, and somehow it got pushed to round two. I had everything in place except for the score. So that didn't help a lot, because right now, even at that point of time as well, I had the same score. I had 655 itself.
Okay.
So given I had applied later, just in the hope of getting a better score, instead of that, what you can do is maybe take your best, like put your best foot forward in round one. Of course, you should be ready with your profile as well, not just the GMAT score. In case you are, take a chance in round one with a couple of schools or 2 to 3 schools, and then it's a good thing that maybe you get an admit, or at least you get some kind of an exposure onto the process. And then if you want to do better or go for a slightly higher ranked school or a more preferred school for yourself, then you can apply again in round two. That's what I would suggest, not to hold off on the process a lot longer. That's one thing. Second thing I would suggest is being very thorough and honest in terms of like what you're writing in your application. Don't try to like go very overboard in terms of what stories you are writing. I have seen a lot of, I used to like read a lot of Reddit as well. When I was doing through this process, a lot of people used to like recommend, okay, it's fine, you can write a little bit overboard as well in terms of your experiences or any volunteering things. They don't ask for proof, so how does it matter? But again, they would know. They would know when you're talking. Maybe you would
Exaggeration
get an
is
interview invite, but you would know.
exaggeration in moderation is probably the best way to kind of look at
Yes,
it. I think
yes,
people tend
that's right.
to over exaggerate achievements and not talk
Right.
about failures, but the whole idea of leadership involves both
Both
accomplishments and
aspects. Yeah.
failures. And I think that introspection that you mentioned right in the beginning has to
Yes.
be about
Mhm.
both elements, right? Things that you do well and things you think you
Things
need
which
to do
didn't
well.
happen well.
And you are
Yeah.
not
Right.
there yet, is the way to look at it, right? I'm not there yet and I want to be there, which is why I'm coming to B school in the first place, right? If I was somebody who was all knowing, and if I was somebody who's already amazing, then what good is a B school for me, right? Like I'm already the leader that I hope to be. Then why am I coming to B school in the first place? So many times that
Right.
students lose sight of the fact that if when they over exaggerate, they tend to make it appear as if, right, like I'm excellent and you should have selected me because I'm excellent. But in reality, they want people who are more of an, like I would say a sponge in terms of learning, and they're open to new experiences and they're open to collaborating and they're open to talking about different areas and aspects that they haven't yet worked on as well.
Right. Right. I agree with you. Yep.
Cool, awesome. Thank you so much for this, Ankit. Any final
Mhm.
words you would have for Rajiv or for Lilac Buds in your parting message?
I mean, all praises, definitely. It was a really nice experience, and I would say a very smooth experience in terms of like all aspects through my application process. I forgot to mention, which I shouldn't have, but in Foster, I also got like $66,000 scholarship as well.
Wow. Okay.
So that was also an added benefit, and within that, like Rajiv also helped me negotiate scholarships as well, which is also a critical part in case you have a couple of admits or those kind of scenarios. So it was a very end-to-end experience, right from selecting the B schools and recommending on how I should move ahead in my MBA journey till the very end. Like even right now, in case I need any kind of help, Rajiv is always there. So it has been a really, really wonderful experience.
Thank you so much for all the kind words. I'll be sure to letting
Sure,
him know, as well as, of course,
sure,
having posting this testimonial up on our website.
sure.
But once again, thank you so much for all the kind words, Ankit. I'll just
Thank you,
pause it
Priyesh.
here. Yeah.